Kimball International reports its first quarter numbers, how things went for the company, plus a large crowd at WJTS heard from Holocaust survivor Eva Kor. We'll have more on that, and Dodie Ewell talks about the Build a Basket for the Elderly program on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with an earnings report from a Jasper-based company. Yesterday morning, Kimball International Incorporated announced net sales of $317.4 million and a net income of $9.2 million, or 24 cents per Class B diluted share, for the first quarter of fiscal year 2014. The first quarter of fiscal year 2014 ended back on September 30th. Consolidated net sales are up 10% in the first quarter for fiscal year 2014 from the first quarter of last year, when they closed at just under $288.2 million. The 24 cents per Class B diluted share is up 85% from the 13 cents per diluted share reported in the prior year's first quarter, and the net income for the company is also an increase of 85% from last year's first quarter, when the net income was reported at just under $5 million. The effective tax rate for the company in the first quarter was 28%, which is down from the 31% effective tax rate in the prior year's first quarter. According to company officials, the effective tax rate was favorably impacted by a $500,000 adjustment to the company's deferred tax asset valuation allowance in the company's Electronic Manufacturing Services, or EMS, segment. The company's reported operating cash flow was $16 million in this past first quarter, up from $9.5 million during last year's first quarter. Kimball International's cash and cash equivalents are at $109.6 million, which is an increase of $6 million from the fourth quarter of this past fiscal year. In other news this evening, 3 Daviess County school corporations have been awarded grants for security from the state of Indiana. The Washington, North Daviess, and Bar Reeve school districts were awarded a combined $115,000 from the first round of the Indiana Secured Schools Safety Grant Program. Statewide, $9 million was awarded through this program. The program was created and funding made available in response to the shootings that took place at Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut. The money is in the form of 50-50 matching grants. The funds can be utilized to employ a school resource officer, complete an assessment of threats to the corporation, or to purchase equipment that restricts access to the school and/or speeds up the process of notifying first responders in the event of an emergency. The North Daviess School District was given a $50,000 grant, the maximum that can be awarded. North Daviess officials say they plan to upgrade security, including more cameras, panic buttons, and upgrades to magnetic locks. The Washington School District also received the maximum $50,000 grant. They plan to work with the Washington Police Department to hire a school resource officer. Meanwhile, the Bar Reeve District was unable to get a maximum grant due to being a smaller school district. Officials say the state did provide a $15,000 grant, which they plan to use for equipment. Several corporations in Du Bois and Spencer counties also received grant money from the state for security purposes. These include the Greater Jasper School Corporation, which got $15,469 in grant money, Southwest Du Bois Schools, who got $15,000, Northeast Du Bois Schools, $14,650, Southeast Du Bois Schools, $9,710, and North Spencer Schools, who also got a maximum grant of $50,000. An Evansville man was arrested in Washington earlier this week in connection with a stabbing. Washington Police, Indiana State Police, and the Daviess County Sheriff's Department arrested 34-year-old Edward Ivy at a home north of Washington at around 3:55 p.m. on Monday. City Police received a tip that Ivy was staying at a rental home in the 1100 block of West 150 North, which is where he was found. Ivy was taken back to Vanderburgh County, where he is currently being held without bond. Ivy is one of 2 people who are accused in a stabbing attack that took place along North Harlan Avenue back on October 28th. It is additionally alleged that Ivy pointed a gun at a resident during the attack, while the second suspect, Antoine Russell, stabbed the victim, Gerald Clark Jr., multiple times. Russell was arrested in Indianapolis last week. Ivy is charged with attempted murder with a knife and intimidation with a weapon. An area hospital is celebrating the 1-year anniversary for an outpatient surgery center. October 1st of last year marked the opening of Memorial Hospital's outpatient surgery center on the first level of the St. Thomas Medical Center. The new center was originally expected to perform 3,000 surgeries during its first year. However, the center wound up performing more than 3,400 surgeries in year 1, which equates to 13% more surgeries and procedures than what was originally projected. Memorial Hospital and Healthcare Center Chief Operating Officer Kyle Bennett says the success of this facility can be attributed to the physicians and hospital partnering together to provide first-class outpatient surgery in a convenient, efficient, and easily accessible setting. He also says the numbers from year 1 confirm that the center is fulfilling a need for the region. Memorial's outpatient surgery center has 3 operating suites and 2 procedure rooms that are utilized for surgeries and procedures that can be performed safely on an outpatient basis. The center is planning to open a 4th operating room next month. Several specialties perform surgeries and procedures at the Memorial Outpatient Surgery Center, and these include orthopedics, general surgery, ear, nose, and throat, urology, and gynecology. A committee in Tell City is hard at work putting together recommendations for annexation. The committee, which is headed by Mayor Barbara Ewing and City Council President Gerald Yackel, among others, met last week to look at a revised map that shows which areas might be proposed for annexation to the full City Council. The committee has been at work on this issue over much of the current year, identifying annexation areas. The current map shows annexation areas along Indiana 237, which would include the new Perry County Memorial Hospital that is still currently under construction. Other possible annexation areas have been identified near Greenwood Cemetery and near Berglund Hills. The committee is also attempting to create a physical plan to cover the costs of providing utilities and police and fire services, among others, for any annexed areas. Many of these areas are already served by 1 or more city utilities. Tell City is also facing the costs of reimbursing Southern Indiana Power for any lost revenue, as well as costs for lines and other infrastructure that the company owns in the areas to eventually be annexed. The City Council will ultimately have the final say when it comes to which areas will be sought for annexation, and a decision will be made by year's end, according to Ewing. A Jasper-based health campus has received a prestigious award. St. Charles Health Campus was honored with the Platinum Award for Excellence courtesy of Trilogy Health Services. The award was given at the Trilogy Fall Meeting that was held in Indianapolis back on October 17th and 18th. The award was given based on customer satisfaction results from a twice-yearly survey sent to residents' family members. St. Charles was specifically recognized for customer satisfaction scores in staff attitude, quality of nursing care, quality of food, appearance and cleanliness, and activity programming. Additionally, the Southwest Division of Trilogy Health Services was recognized as the top company division during the meeting. This award was given based off of overall customer satisfaction scores of each individual health campus. Local campuses included in that division are St. Charles, as well as Scenic Hills Care Center in Ferdinand. More than 6,000 surveys were mailed to family members and other parties company-wide. Nearly 53% of the surveys sent out were returned. The results of the surveys were compared to past performance, as well as to performances of other Trilogy campuses. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources says 21 state parks, including some local parks, will close to the general public for 2 days in both November and December for controlled deer hunts. The dates for the temporary closures are November 18th and 19th and December 2nd and 3rd. The parks will close to the general public the evenings before each of the 2 hunts and will reopen the morning after. The state parks affected are Brown County, Chino Lakes, Charlestown, Clifty Falls, Fort Harrison, Harmony, Indiana Dunes, Lincoln State Park, McCormick's Creek, Awabache, Pokagon, Potato Creek, Prophetstown, Shades, Shakamak, Spring Mill, Summit Lake, Tippecanoe, Turkey Run, Versailles, and Whitewater Memorial. Finally this evening, Vincennes University Jasper campus hosted a special guest yesterday evening. A standing room only crowd packed the new classroom building on campus to hear the speech of Nazi death camp survivor Eva Kor. Kor spoke on several values, most notably forgiving those who have done us wrong. Kor also signed copies of her book, Surviving the Angel of Death, the story of a Mengele twin in Auschwitz, following her roughly 1 hour-long speech. Kor says the crowd turnout last night meant a lot to her.
I think it's wonderful. If you ever speak in public, the more people there are, the easier it is to speak, because you get a lot of energy from the crowd. And I love a full room, so I was very happy to see such a nice turnout.
Kor says her story is one that needs to be told to the younger generation. She says her story serves as a lesson to young people about persistence and hope.
There is always hope after despair, and there is always a tomorrow after disaster. But if you don't give up on yourself, you can accomplish anything in life.
Kor was originally taken from her home in Transylvania, Romania in 1944 when she was 10 years old. She and her family were taken to Auschwitz at that time. Kor and her twin sister Miriam were separated from the rest of her family at that time. The sisters were used in experiments by the Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele, also known as the Angel of Death. Kor was freed in 1945 when Auschwitz and the other Nazi death camps were liberated. At the time, only about 200 children were found alive. In 1995, Kor founded the Candles Holocaust Museum and Education Center that's located in Terre Haute. Kor will be leading a trip with the museum to Auschwitz next year. Kor also was the subject of the 2006 documentary Forgiving Dr. Mengele, which highlighted her struggles in Auschwitz and her public decision to forgive the Nazis in recent years. Coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform featuring Dodie Ewell talking about the Build a Basket for the Elderly program. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.